Do you know the deepest part of Earth's crust?
No.
The Marianas Trench, off the coast of the Philippines, in the Pacific Ocean. Goes 6 miles down. The highest point on Earth's surface, the tip of K1.
K2? Is it K1 or K2?
I think it's K1. Well, why would you name the tallest peak K2?
That's a good point.
I'm just...
Right.
I'm not a mountain climber, but I'm just thinking...
Where is K1?
K1, it's the Himalayan mountains. Okay, so now, let's say, how high up is that? Well, it's 28,000 feet. So it's like 5 miles up. The distance between the lowest point on Earth's surface and the highest point on Earth's surface is 11 miles. That is less than the length of Manhattan, yet we are 8,000 miles in diameter. And those 2 points are very far separated from one another. If you were a cosmic giant and you came up to Earth and you rubbed your finger over Earth's surface, it would feel as smooth as a cue ball to you.
Wow.
Here's a problem that we detail here. People say, I don't want weapons in space. There's nothing more useless than a space weapon relative to Earth's surface, okay? If you're in space, you're in orbit. Think it through. If this is Earth, I'm using your skull.
I think so. Okay.
And I've got a satellite in orbit around the Earth. Right. And I say, okay, I want to weaponize the satellite, put a bomb in it, and I want to drop over some city. Some bad person wants to make that decision.
Right.
Well, what's the city you want to hit? Well, it's up here somewhere.
So you got to drop it halfway there.
So you gotta, well, no, it's not just that. These are not very high above the planet. And so you have to like change the orbit to align it so that it goes over your target. Satellites don't go over every spot on Earth. Right. They only go over the orbit that had been preset for it. We can already destroy a city with an intercontinental ballistic missile. And we can aim that. We can aim a missile to any place on Earth and it'll get there in less than 45 minutes and destroy the whole city with nuclear weapons. We can already do that. There is no advantage to putting nukes in space if that's your objective. The tallest thing humans built after the pyramids.
I think it's a building in Dubai.
No. So in other words, what's the next tallest thing after the pyramids?
Oh, right after.
Yeah. What is the next tallest thing we built? Stable structure after the pyramids.
What?
The Eiffel Tower.
Really?
Yes. 89, late 1800s in Paris, the Eiffel Tower.
Huh.
That was the first stable structure we built as a civilization that was taller than the pyramids. So the Egyptians knew they knew architecture. They knew. No one's taken that away from them.
But you can say something about the question, what's consciousness?
Not that you ask, but what I think on this is consciousness has kind of baffled us for a while, okay? And evidence that we haven't a clue about what consciousness is drawn from the fact of how many books are published on the topic, right? We're not really continuing to publish books, not really, on like Newtonian physics. It's done, all right? So the fact that people keep publishing books on consciousness is the evidence we don't know anything about it, because if we knew all about it, you wouldn't have to keep publishing. So what I wonder, Richard, is whether there really is no such thing as consciousness at all, and that there's some other understanding of the functioning of the human brain that renders that question obsolete. William Herschel comes around and says, I wonder, the different colors of light have different temperatures. So he laid down the spectrum with sunlight prism, and he put a thermometer in each color. And then he had an eighth thermometer. I don't know if he used one and did the experiment 7 times, but he had another thermometer that he used as the control thermometer. You put that over to the side where there are no colors, and that would presumably just measure the room temperature. So he knows enough to even think that this is an interesting exercise, and he's got a control thermometer. And he just puts it over to the side of the red, out of sight. And then he watches the thermometers. And the control thermometer goes through the roof. And he's looking at it, and he says, something must be coming through the prism that I cannot see. And he describes this as light unfit for vision.
Yes, he does.
He discovers infrared light. If you needed more reasons to think that Columbus was a dick, okay, let me add one to it. He has to get back, it's his third voyage. He doesn't have enough resources. So he asks the natives, would you please give us some of your stock that you have collected from your farming? Natives only makes exactly the amount of food they need to tie to the next crop. So they said no. Columbus knew that 1 week hence, there was going to be a
total lunar eclipse. The geometry of that event, sunlight passes around Earth through Earth's atmosphere and takes on sunset colors that leach into Earth's shadow, giving the moon a deep red amber hue. He says to the natives, if you do not give us food, my God will make the moon disappear and it will turn blood red. That will happen in 1 week. Some of them were skeptical. Others said, shit, we gotta do what this guy said. Look at the ships they came in. Sure enough, the moon begins to disappear. And so he invokes this to dominate people who are not yet scientifically literate. And within seconds of this beginning, they bring him all the resources he wants and he gets. So now, what's holding back electric cars? Well, I might not be able to charge it. It takes a little too long to charge compared to my other vehicle. Are there enough chargers along the way? Well, these were questions that were asked when people got cars. If I have cars and it takes gas, is there a gas station? Oh, Standard Oil says we'll put a gas station there because you're buying cars. And so it's a whole family of businesses coming together, and you're paying for a big part of that. It's not just the car. You paid for the roads. That's all I'm saying. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just describing it as a reality. And I want you to buy my car. I need a road. So I'm going to build the road. Oh, wait a minute. I convinced you to build the road. That's even better. Oh my gosh, I made it a national priority. Oh, it's a security problem. We need a military design interstate system. That's why it goes through mountains instead of over them. That's why there are long stretches of straightaways, so you can land an airplane on it. Our best understanding of Stonehenge is that it's a functioning observatory that can actually predict eclipses. So just gotta bitch slap you there. Oh, Stonehenge not impressive. It's just big stone. They're lined with the summer solstice. There are holes that are not stones, but they're 56 holes, which is 3 times the Saros, which is the cycle of eclipses, of the matching of the orbits, the paths of the sun and the moon in the sky. And when they match up, you get an eclipse. I visited Stonehenge as a kid, and that stuck with me, which is why I named this phenomenon in Manhattan.
I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah. So I named that Manhattan-henge. That might be the first ever Manhattan-henge photo.
What year is that from?
I took it before September 11th, right. And then I had a means to publish it. No one is in the streets doing this. And then that goes out, the press gets it. Tens of thousands of people spill into the street, blocking traffic.
All of us, too many of them. It was you by yourself. It's interesting.
It's great. Yeah,
Thousands
so that's
of
what it has
people
become.
Holding up phones.
And it's all because I went to Stonehenge.
What are your thoughts on digital privacy? Question is, one of the things that you're getting out of their ability to scan things is they're tailoring things to your liking. Like, you know how your phone tells you it's 22 minutes until you get home?
I get it.
And you're like, bitch, how do you know where I live?
I get it. I'm just old-fashioned about this.
But you're also a scientist.
Okay, I wear multiple hats. I'm old man. And my old man sensibility is, if you track what I shop at a store, what I buy at a store, and then send me coupons based on what you think I'm going to buy next, based on what I've bought before, you have denied me the chance of stumbling upon something that I never thought of buying. And that takes away my freedoms, and I don't want that.
How have they denied you the chance of stumbling upon something different?
It's not diabolical. It's just in the casual flow of life. I'll give an example. I walk into a wine shop. They say, can I help you? And I say, if you help me find what I'm looking for, it's a guarantee that I will never find what I'm not looking for. That the sun is yellow. That's not true. Anytime we actually ever find ourselves looking at the sun, it has a deep yellow color. Sometimes it's so deep it can be red. So you know intuitively it's not red, but somehow you don't know intuitively that it's also not yellow. What color is the sun? It is white. If you need evidence, look at Earth, and there's the atmosphere wrapped around the Earth. If the sun is directly overhead or anywhere near directly overhead, it goes to sort of, let's call that one thickness of atmosphere, okay? Top to bottom. As the sun gets lower and lower in the sky, the path of light through the atmosphere is longer because now there's that angle through it. And if it's low on the horizon, it goes through 10 equivalent atmospheres. When we have storms, it's in our atmosphere, that's gas. We rotate once a day, and so that rotation creates what we call a Coriolis force, which moving air that moves from one latitude to another actually has its direction deflected because of this Coriolis force, and this is why storms rotate in one direction counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. You realize it's just as intellectually lazy to believe everything you see as it is to deny everything.
Yes.
Why should someone know automatically that Earth isn't flat, yet I tell them in the next breath that the entire universe was once as small as a marble, right? Both of those sound equally preposterous, except one has evidence to back it and the other does not, and very strong scientific, theoretical, and experimental underpinnings. So when you are trained to inquire, you don't either believe everything outright or reject everything outright. You're trained to ask questions. You're trained to probe deeper than the layer of information that comes to you. That's what should be taught in school, and it's not. They give you a book and say, learn this.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Captain Cook? The Brits send Captain Cook to the South Pacific. Why? Well, you look at his marching orders, there's what's called a transit of Venus that's going to take place, visible only from the South Pacific. This is where Earth in our orbit and Venus in orbit are such that when Venus passes between us and the sun, it actually is exactly between us and the sun. You can watch it move, the circle move across the sun's surface. If you measure that, you can learn the exact scale of the solar system. So you learn deep scientific knowledge about how far away the planets are and how far away the sun is from the Earth. It was not known with precision before that measurement was made. So Captain Cook goes on this voyage to do this. Well, this is a pretty expensive voyage. Oh, wait, flip over the marching orders. Oh, open the envelope. Oh, while you're there, use these new navigation techniques that use the sun, moon, and stars and map every coastline you find and bring that information back to us. Within 10 years of Captain Cook navigating the South Pacific, Britain took control over those coastlines.
You want to talk about ferocious Coriolis forces? We have storms that last weeks here. Hurricanes that pick up and they go weeks on this little speck we call Earth that has this much atmosphere on it. Go to a planet that rotates twice as fast, is 10 times as wide, 1,000 times the volume, and is mostly gas, and you're complaining that it lasted 300 years?
You know what they did?
What?
In 1895, after Wilhelm Röntgen discovers X-rays and they find out it penetrates your body and you can see bones inside your body, you know what they did? They set up X-ray machines at the bedside of dying people to see if they can see a soul leave the body.
Then everybody just got cancer from the radiation.
They died from cancer. It's not useful, is all I'm saying.
How could it not be useful if
To
it's
other
useful
people.
to you?
Oh, yeah.
And if useful
I know,
to
not
you,
useful to other
but
people.
hold on,
To
if
other
it's
people.
useful to you, and then that usefulness to you actually manifests itself in something that gets created because of this experience, like Kary Mullis created the PCR method because he had an acid trip, and during the acid trip came up with this idea.